There we are. We are recording. Excellent stuff. Okay, so my name's Tracy Morgan. Some of you will know me and will have seen me do lives. It's been a long time since I've done one. There are reasons for that. We may go into that. We may wander off into other rabbit holes during this, but we'll see. We might get there. Why I've not been around in the cyberspace live for a while. And this is Marsha. This is Marsha Walsh. She is my little sister, basically, but she's not my little sister at all. But it feels like she is.
Yes.
And she's in, well, dawning Utah at the moment. What time is it there, Marsha?
It is 6:55 a.m.
6:55 a.m. It is 1:55 p.m. here in the slightly overcast UK. We're all just crawling out of winter. I think I don't know if the groundhog has actually poked its head out or not.
He did not see his shadow. So spring is coming.
Spring is coming. Excellent. I am decided that spring is coming because there is blossom on my apricot tree. And
that would be a very good sign.
Yeah, it was. I don't think we had daffodils until the end of April last year, but a very, very late spring last year. But anyway, a very British thing for me to do is to discuss the weather. Anyway, we've decided to come on here today to try and sort of relaunch number one, me being back on camera. Because I've been absent for quite some time, and there's been very good reasons for that. A lot of developments gone on, a lot of trainings, lots of stuff, which we'll get into. But we'll come on here today, and I thought it'd be quite nice because we've got something going on in Utah this year, which is really exciting. We've got a retreat. I don't think it's quite fully booked up, but I know we've definitely got a retreat. So we've got some spaces there for a 3-day immersion with myself, which will have so many things going on. And we'll probably do other videos to actually go into all the bits and pieces that we're going to be doing, because this will be on YouTube, but it will also be on my website, and it will also be on the group on Facebook called Self-Actualizing Trauma Thrivers. And we'll have a breakout group from that, which will be for people coming to the retreat. So we've got this retreat happening, and Marsha keeps getting asked all kinds of questions about what's this Tracy woman about, how did you get to do this, blah blah blah, and she's got so many questions, and she's like, would really like somewhere to point them.
Yes.
So that was the plan. Now, this is not going to be the most polished of YouTube videos. It's very much just us having a chat. So, and because Marsha was like, a year ago, Marsha would not have done this.
No, I would not have.
She would not have had a bar of doing this. We're at a point now where Marsha is able to do this. That's really awesome. So I am going to hand over to Marsha to ask me some questions, really. And I might gibber on, so she might have to butt in and shut me up, because I'm hoping this won't go on forever. You'll be tuning out. It's like, oh, for goodness sake, Scottish woman never shuts up.
No, it's great.
Okay.
So we have the retreat coming up. So what was the first step to getting to that point, to this point?
Oh, let me think. Shall we start with most people's journeys? Oh, COVID. Yeah, COVID.
Yes.
Actually, mine happened a little bit before then. It's almost 7 years ago now. In 2017, I split up from a partner that I had lived with for 9 years, who was not. It was not the best of situations to be in. And from that, when I finally got free of that, I started to do an awful lot of soul searching, because I never wanted to be in a position where I would be open to that ever happening again, which sent me on quite the journey, But before that, before I got to that point, just to let you know that I trained to be an occupational therapist. Now, for all you guys stateside, I'm going to explain that a little bit because it's not something that's in your parlance. An occupational therapist in the UK can especially the job that I do or have done, we can best liken it to a licensed clinical social worker in mental health. That would probably be the best way to describe it. So basically, I'm a therapist. I work with people with mental health problems. I still do that, by the way. I still work within the NHS. My position has changed since I first came into this space. I now clinically still work with patients, but I also help organise and coordinate the team of mental health professionals that go into ER departments.
Yeah.
So we deal with people who are suicidal, very, very psychotic, very, very unwell. So we do that. So I trained to be an occupational therapist, and I started my training. I started my psychology degree in 1997. I was doing that part-time while I was still heavily pregnant with my youngest then, Lorna. So I was running up and down the stairs because she was late. Very late. I think it was 3 weeks overdue by the time I had her.
Oh my goodness.
So I did my psychology degree, and I was doing it part-time on evening school because I had Lorna, who was a newborn, and I had my other daughter who was 3.5, 4. So I was at home. So I was staying at home and I was studying at night school, and I did it. So it was going to take me 6 years to do a 3-year degree in psychology. I was doing a Bachelor of Science with honours, which in Britain, I'm not quite sure what the equivalent is. I think you have to go to master's level to do that, actually, I think, in the States. But when I got to my 5th year of doing that, which was, so I'd done sort of 2.5 years of a 3-year degree, I realised that I wasn't going to be able to afford to be a clinical psychologist or a counselling psychologist. So I couldn't afford, with children and our financial situation, to actually pay my fees, my counselling, and all the things that come with it.
Yeah.
And my husband at the time says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to help people who are mentally ill. And he suggested that I follow him into his profession, which was occupational therapy. He worked in neurology, which is people with strokes and brain injuries. Yes. But he had a great passion for people that could work in mental health. So I went and I started my training. So I was doing half of my final year of my psychology degree and the first full year of my occupational therapy degree in 1 year. So I was sitting finals while doing my first year placement, clinical placement. Anyway, time rolled on. I always knew I wanted to work in mental health. I actually wanted to work in forensics, which is working with, I suppose, the criminally insane, I guess, would be a common way of putting it. But basically working in secure hospitals. I'm glad I didn't. Incidentally, glad I didn't do that. So I qualified and I went into work in the mental health space, and there I have been ever since within the British NHS.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2017. 2017, I had this relationship breakdown of somebody I wasn't married to, been with him for 9 years. And it really was like a complete collapse of my mental health, because over that 9 years, he had systematically broken me down to the point where I forgot who I was. Completely forgot who I was. Before I met him, I was very much into spirituality, yoga, meditation, British paganism, I guess. Not in any organized format. I never practiced in an organized way, like, with groups of people. I was always very much on my own. But I did have a lot of observances of the Wheel of the Year. So the moon cycles and the season cycles and things like that, always very much in touch with that. But over the time, this particular person, for whatever reason, convinced me that that was nonsense. And then he began to convince me that I wasn't very bright and that I was stupid and things like that. So I had a lot of rebuilding to do, because 9 years of that.
Yeah.
Not going to get into any details of that, because without those experiences, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm actually a little bit, I suppose I'm almost at that point where I'm actually grateful. Not that I'm saying it was a thing for that person to do, but that I'm grateful that I lived, survived, experienced, and moved through.
How did you find and learn how to be grateful of that, though?
Wow.
Because that's really hard.
That's a question. What did you do?
Sorry.
How did I do it? First of all, I clamped down into myself. I remember he finally left the house after 5 months of very unpleasant situation within the house. He left on the 15th of February, so it's nearly exactly 7 years ago.
Oh my.
Right. So he left, and the first thing I did was I cleaned like a crazy person. I cleaned, I threw everything out. I kept going to work. So I was working on the community. And I was the central therapist care coordinator of a group of clients that were young people with experience in their first episode of psychosis. So I had really strong relationships with them, and it's a very crucial time. And I loved my work. I loved it. And I carried on working, but on my days off and things like that, I would be literally washing these walls that you see me sitting within. I scrubbed them with my hands and cloths.
Oh my.
I threw everything out that I didn't need. And I think I said to my kids at one point, first of all, I'll wash them out, then I'll paint them out.
Oh.
So that was the first cleansing.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the August that year where I realized that I would be driving and I would stop. I'd be driving between towns and I would have to stop my car and vomit. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. Bearing in mind, I worked in mental health space. Totally worked in it. I had no idea what was happening. I would vomit, and then it would feel like it's almost a visual thing. I remember describing it. It was like I would see a client and I would be fine when I was there for them and I was in service to someone else. So I think this is what basically saved my mental health, because I was in service the whole time to other people. And I would sit with them and I'd be fine. And then I would get back in the car and it was almost as if somebody had turned 2 little taps or faucets on my ankles, and all of my energy would just flood out. And I'd feel really weird and odd. And this went on for weeks. And in the end, I just got to a point where it was like, I can't keep doing this. I wasn't sleeping very well. I was having somatic and auditory hallucinations when I was waking up or falling asleep of certain things that had happened to me during the end of that particular relationship. And I was basically running on empty. So I went to my GP, had some time off work. And basically I was so anxious, I wouldn't leave the confines of my back gate in my garden, or my yard, as you would call it in America, to the end of my front drive. I wouldn't leave. And sometimes even putting the trash bins out, it was like do I need to put them out? Can I leave it another week? It was it was too peoply outside. I was frightened. I was really, really frightened. But I didn't know I was frightened. I didn't understand what was going on, which is really interesting, because if you think I'm a person with a vast amount of education, 2 degrees in science, and all the clinical experience, didn't recognize what was wrong with me. I had PTSD.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had time off work. I eventually went back to work, but that summer was hard. I learned so much. The amount of compassion that I have gained from knowing what that feels like when when the anxiety is so bad, and the physical feeling of it, not a panic attack, just it's such a that's the only feeling all the time, that I know that I spent many, many, many weeks with that peaking. And when it peaked, it was like, if I have to live another minute like this, I don't want to be here anymore. And I was deadly serious, also very high risk group, because I would know how to avoid detection. So I went through all that, but as I said, the compassion it has left me with is amazing, to be honest. I mean, I've said to clients when they've sat with me in an ER department, and they've been so anxious, and they don't know what to do with themselves, and you can see the physical torment, and I'll say to them, I know that this is really bad right now, and it feels like if you have to live another minute like this, you just don't want to live anymore. I get it, but it will pass, and I will hold your hand while it does. And it's like, look at me and go, how do you know? I don't need to tell them how I know, but they can tell I do. So, so fast forward again. So I rebuilt my life. I worked a lot of overtime. I went and worked in crisis teams, did loads of overtime trying to dig me out of the financial mess I was left in. Met new people. Then I met a wonderful human being, who I'm still with now. We'll both say we're not in a relationship, which is quite funny. Both terrified. If you've ever seen that meme on Facebook that says, when you have two people who've been traumatized or have been in bad relationships, by the time they actually meet each other, they won't notice because they're so terrified. We're a bit like that. We're a bit like that. Yeah, I met this wonderful person, and I carried on working overtime, and I met new people, and I had a mad moment in 2009, 2018, at the end of 2018 it was. I decided that I was going to audition to be in the NHS trust that I work for. So it's a branch within the NHS. I was holding a pantomime, and I kept saying, shall I audition? And I chickened out, because, you know, when you have got PTSD, and when you have got a lot of trauma and a lot of things going on, it's frightening. Those things are frightening. Because at this point, I wouldn't even speak to someone in a restaurant. I couldn't even order for myself. I didn't want to go out in public. Everything was really hard. So bless my precious other half, because he actually would say to me, he'd look at me, go, should we go out for dinner? And I'd be like, and he'd go, it's okay, I'll talk for you. And off we go. And he did that. He was phenomenal human being, and never said that he was compensating or he made me better, which is even better. So anyway, I didn't audition for the pantomime. However, 3 months later, round about September, October time, and I've an email come out to everyone in the trust that they were looking for somebody to actually come in and take over a part where somebody had dropped out. And I had a little mad moment, like I'm sure everybody's had always. I don't know what made me do it, but I did it, and I did it. I went and I read, and I got the part. And essentially, that part was on stage pretty much out of all 55 scenes. I was on stage 53 of them.
Wow.
With dialogue, which I had to learn quicker than everybody else.
Yes.
If you're looking for the kind of the character I played, I was actually, you know, in Cinderella, you've got Buttons that plays the fourth wall. That was me. That's what I was playing. And it was great. Yeah. Unrequited love of the female princess. I was basically playing a boy. It was so much fun. I got to wear silly hats and dance about and be an artist. Loved it. Boosted my confidence massively.
Awesome.
It was awesome. So it was a case of re-engaging with life.
Oh, okay.
And I was doing it blind. I did have some counselors. I had domestic abuse counseling service that were phenomenal. They were amazing. That's British, and it's a very local. So I'm giving them a shout out, Dax, they're amazing. And then I had some support from the trust, the NHS trust that I work for. I actually had individual counselling through their services. And every single person that I had in that was just, they were super, absolutely super. And they worked in a person-centered way. So there was no particular, it wasn't CBT, it wasn't a this or a that. It was a combination of holding a space for someone.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So that was phenomenal as well.
Wonderful.
So then we had COVID. Now, just before COVID, I had made a decision that I was going to have all of my spare skin removed from my stomach. Now, we're not talking a little bit of a tummy tuck here. We're talking major surgery, fleur-de-lis abdominoplasty, because I had, I think it was 17 pounds of excess skin on my body that had to be removed.
Wow.
And I couldn't have it done in statutory services. I had to pay for it myself. And I went and I did this. And I thought, right, I'll do that. And I had this done and it's amazing. However, 6 days after my surgery, I contracted the flesh-eating superbug, necrotizing fasciitis and sepsis, and almost died.
Oh.
Yeah. And I had to have it all debrided, which is burnt out, and I had a hole in me and stuff like that. And I had to wear this vacuum thing, and I had to be off work for ages. And just after that happened, COVID hit.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's rough.
So that the debridement surgery I had the first surgery on the 27th of January 2020, and I was in surgery being debrided on the 3rd of February.
Oh my gosh.
That was 4 years ago. So, but no, I battled on. At one point, I thought, I don't think I'm going to make it. I thought I'm going to have to write letters, make sure my will's in order. I thought my body didn't seem to want to fight it. It did. In the end, it did. But it was quite frightening. It was quite frightening. So I spent the summer of COVID up until June stuck at home because I couldn't work because I had a machine on me that made gurgly, sucky noises. And I work with people with psychosis.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't.
Yeah. And also looked like I was an alien being fed by some sort of weird umbilical cord. It was very odd. Anyway, it was coming right from my belly button, or where that used to be.
Yeah.
So we thought it was probably best for me not to. Plus, I was quite tired. So I did lots of gardening, lots of decorating, as much as I could because COVID, everything was shut down. And it was a beautiful summer. That beautiful. We had an early spring then, by the way. Just saying, we had an early spring that year. I remember it very well. Anyway, just saying, I'm watching you, right? Could be doing with another summer like that. So from that, I started to explore different things, and I found some resources in coaching. I was coached myself for a very brief period of time. And discovered that actually what I have is not only a clinical level of knowledge, clinical experience of working with people with mental distress, but I also had personal experience of not only physical trauma, but psychological trauma, abuse trauma, and actually in my childhood also childhood neglect, trauma, emotional and psychological abuse, which I'm not going to go into because it's not, well, it is relevant, but it's just to let you know it's there.
Yeah.
And that actually I could really help people because I had walked myself through those woods, through that forest with my own machete and took down a path for other people to follow. And I thought because I'd done that, then I could lead other people through.
Yeah.
So then I moved into the coaching space, which is how I met you.
Yes, that is how we met.
That's how we met. So self-actualizing trauma thrivers has actually been around since I made that decision. From there, I have trained in, I'm trauma informed. I've been trained by Carolyn Spring and her particular school of trauma informed. She also comes from a background of trauma and abuse herself, and similar pathway to mine. So I went and studied all of her stuff, which is very reasonably priced. Incredible work she's done there, incredible, and great service to our community. And she's got a podcast as well. So that's Carolyn Spring, CAROLYN, Spring as in spring.
Yes.
Look her up. She's exceptional. Look her up and tell her that we sent you. Because I know Marsha's definitely she's down that rabbit hole at the moment as well.
Yes.
And then I trained to become a solution-focused clinical hypnotherapist, which I have now got a private practice here in my home. And during the time I was doing that, I also trained within Reiki. So I did all 3 levels of Reiki, 1, 2, and 3. I'm a master teacher practitioner, and I practice that here at the house as well. And very, very soon, I will also be adding to my hypnotherapy practice regression therapy, which is either regression into forgotten traumas that need healing, and also past life work as well. But that'll be coming in May as a fully qualified. So that's on its way into this space as well. Yeah. And currently I'm studying Ayurvedic medical counselling.
Yes.
With the International School Haleakala. I'm just over a quarter of the way through my training. I started that last August on my birthday, which is the Lionsgate portal, or the portal for manifestation. And it was my 50th birthday. So yeah, I started then. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Awesome.
That took forever. So short course history of everything. Ask me anything now. Ask me anything.
Oh, where do I?
Where'd you go from there? So when I met you, you came to me for coaching.
Coaching, yes.
You came to me for coaching, and we got to know each other. And through that coaching process, you did a lot of healing because you were very negative about the word therapist.
Yes, I was.
She was like, mind shrinking me, shan't have it. But because I was,
you were very good at being very careful with coaching.
Yes, even though I am a therapist.
Yes,
but you employed me as a coach, and that's what we've been doing. But from there, you have, I mean, your growth is immense. Your life is very different now than it was.
So different. And I'm so very grateful. Yeah, extremely different.
Because you went back to school. You followed a pathway back to school to maybe look at being a nursery school manager, that kind of thing. But it didn't quite resonate.
No, it did not.
And then obviously you were really interested in Reiki when I did my 1 and 2.
Yes.
And that's an interesting story. So you were trying to find a Reiki master in Utah.
Yeah.
I'd already been out to Utah by this point,
Yes.
and met some of your close friends, some of which are coming to the retreat, which is great. And I'd done some Reiki, but I was only a Reiki level 1 at that point, so it was very low level what I was doing. And then I did 2, and I was doing distance Reiki sessions with yourself and other people. I'm doing some here.
Yeah.
And you said, I want to do it. And I said, well, find a Reiki master. And you looked and you looked and you're like, none of it's resonating. And I'm like, and
it really wasn't. I couldn't. I was like, I want to do this, and I just thought, Tracy, can't you do it?
And the thing was that I'd been saying to you the whole time, no, Marcia, when the student is ready,
yeah,
will become obvious, right? And I had no idea what was about to happen, because it was quite early one morning. It must have been really late in Utah, because I was getting up at about 5 in the morning, and I got up at 4, but I used to go up.
Yeah.
And you'd messaged me with, can't you be my Reiki master? And I said, I've explained this. I can't be your Reiki master. I'm not a Reiki master trained. I'm not attuned. And you went, how much would that be? And if I paid you to attune me, wouldn't that pay for your master training? And that is how I became a Reiki master.
Yep.
Marcia
that is exactly how.
Marcia demanded that I become her Reiki master.
I did.
And I went to my Reiki master and I explained the situation, because to go from practitioner to Reiki master in less than a year is very, very rapid.
Mm-hmm.
But she'd attuned me, wonderful, wonderful lady, and she was very, very comfortable with me doing that, and to have that done. So I went and I did my training. So in the middle of all this, I'm doing my Reiki master training, which is 5 days, by the way. 5 days. It's not just a day, it's 5 whole solid days. And that's just for the basic stuff. Reiki master training, when I do it, it's going to be different from that. It's not going to be, I'm going to spread it out, and it's more of a mentoring process. But you will have Isui and Holy Fire as well. And I did that in the middle of all my hypnotherapy training. I was producing coursework and case studies. I was having to see at least 5 clients a week for my clinical experience of that, and working a full-time job.
Yep.
But then Marcia came to Britain.
I did.
And was attuned to Reiki 1 and 2 while she was here. And she was attuned to Reiki 1 in Avebury, in Wiltshire, by the Stones. That was very magical.
Yes.
Very, very magical.
It was very.
Not to mention that my hip that had dislocated suddenly relocated itself, and it was fine. While I was doing it, which I didn't notice until Marcia said I was walking properly again. But anyway, it has been. So we made a decision that we were going to do another retreat.
Yes.
More formalized this time, because a lot of people really interested in the Reiki and doing Reiki 1. So that's one of the things that so it's 3 days, but you will come out of it with your Reiki 1. That's not a practitioner certificate, that's just Reiki 1. It means you're attuned and you can heal yourself and your family, your pets, that kind of thing, but not using it from the point of view of a clinical or a business perspective. But also we're going to be using my skills within Ayurveda. Life-changing stuff, which I'll probably go in other videos, we'll discuss that. And also there will be opportunities for Reiki and also hypnotherapy and all of the neurology, how your brain works, and all of that will be within that 3 days. It's going to be quite intense, but so much fun and so a shared space, and that's for ladies only, which is why I'm going to be working quite a bit when I'm over in the States, because I've got men who want to be Reiki 1 attuned, who are gutted they couldn't be allowed to come to our retreat. So I will be available for that, but also for treatments and probably past life regressions or regressional work as well. So there'll be a lot of offerings while I'm over in America. So I land in Utah at about, I think it's about 11:15 p.m. on the 6th of September.
I can hardly wait.
Marsha's very excited. She's sat on my bed right now talking to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we want as many people as we can manage to fit into that space with us that weekend, if you want to do it. What are the dates for the weekends, Marsha?
The 14th, 15th, 16th, and we come home the 17th.
Right, so we've got 3 days and then a day, obviously, for traveling. We arrive at 4 p.m. on the first day, and we'll be diving straight in. You will be having Ayurvedic cooking. It will be, I'll be teaching you how to do the most amazing Ayurvedically based self-care routines. So much.
It is amazing.
Is going to be going on. It's going to be so much fun. And lots of giggles. And I think I'm probably going to be there with my computer, so there will be karaoke, which I'm bringing over with me.
Yay!
There'll be karaoke.
But I will be cheering everybody on.
Yeah. I'm going to you'll have to prise that microphone from my stubborn hand, because once I start singing, I can't stop.
I really don't think anybody will mind, because you have a beautiful voice.
But yeah, so that's a little bit of a potted history about me and how we ended up where we're at.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is this obviously is going on to YouTube. I'll post it on the group. Anybody who wants to reach out to me, you can, within the group, either friend me as the organizer or Marsha, and then send a message through and we will get back to you. If anybody's interested in, I'll put some of this on the show notes. I'll put both websites, for the hypnotherapy website and the because it's ultraviolet holistic therapies. If you actually Googled ultraviolet holistic therapies into a Google search, you will find me.
Yes.
You will find me. Reach out. There's a contact page on both of the websites. They both link to each other as well under other therapies. So there's lots of ways to contact me. Just reach out. If you want to book onto that retreat, get yourselves going, because spaces are filling up. So we want as many people. Oh, and totally forgot to mention the fact that we have goodie bags for the retreat.
Yes, we do.
We have goodie bags. There's all sorts of wonderful things going into the goodie bags, including Ayurvedic oil that will actually be tailored to you specifically by me. So
yeah.
And then being taught how to use it as well, which is great. There'll be yoga. And when I say to you, now you may all look at me now and go, oh, look at you, yoga body. Yeah. Trust me. This time 7 months ago, there was no yoga body going on. It wasn't like this. This is Ayurveda that's done this. I do not do the yoga body yoga. You do not have to twist into a pretzel. These movements are gentle. They are not ridiculous. You don't have to look like a Barbie doll. And it's not, yoga is not about exercise. Yoga is about being in your body.
Yeah.
And it's being in your body and being in the space with either the God of your heart or the divine universe or nature or whatever you actually see as the everything. It's about that. It's not about, I can do the pose of the tree for 3/4 of an hour and I can hardly breathe. It's great. It's not about that. When I taught Marsha yoga, believe me, none of the two of us were that flexible, and now we're all kinds of flexible.
And I was always kind of intimidated by yoga until I was there and did it with you. And I was like, I could do that. I was a little bit sore, but not unmanageably. I mean, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was good.
Yeah, it moves the energy around the body so that things like your food can be properly digested and be used for the positive tissues in your body. And the thing about an Ayurvedic, even the slightest changes in Ayurvedic life into your lifestyle, it makes your hair shine, your skin glows, you de-age.
It is, seriously, it's amazing.
And there's absolutely no diet food in it, because I pretty much live on ghee, which is clarified butter, paneer, which I make myself, I've got to admit, but it's made with full cream milk, and vegetables and spices. And I drink full cream milk that's boiled with ghee and spices, and I eat dates that have been preserved in ghee. So basically it's like coffee. It's beautiful, and things like that. And it's like when people see me eat, they're like, how come you're so much slimmer? And I'm like, because I'm not on a low-fat diet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, so
your body, what your body needs.
Yeah, and only enough
Yes.
that your body needs, not the excess. It's the excess, it's the problem.
Yes.
But I'll be teaching all of that stuff at the retreat, how to honor the burp. We're honoring the burp. Yes, we are. Or honoring the sneeze. There was definite honoring of sneezing going on yesterday in Marsha's house. Her husband was sneezing.
Oh my, he sneezes so loudly. So loud.
And I've got to say that within our Ayurveda, we say we should never, ever suppress natural bodily functions. So if you need to pass wind, ladies, pass wind. You must pass wind. Go and find a quiet corner to do it, and do it because you need to do it. Burping, the same. Sneezing, the same. Never, ever hold in a wee or a tinkle either. Never do that, because you're damaging yourself. We need to eliminate, and that's how we do it. Don't suppress it.
Okay.
But yeah, and it's basically embracing ourselves as humans, but as we are supposed to be, as opposed to what the media tells us we're supposed to be.
Yes.
Anyway, should we wrap this up? Or have you got any burning questions that you want to ask from this?
I'm sure I will in the future, but as of right now, no.
If anybody's got any questions at all, just post it in the comments boxes and whatever platform you found this on, and we'll get back to you, because yeah, we're all about communication and everybody growing together and just being the best that we can be, really, because you know what, life is awesome and it's so beautiful, and if we can't get over our wounds or our hurts or the things that we're hating about ourselves, then we're not going to see that. And that's what this is all about.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. I'm going to sign off. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Stop the recording. I'm stopping the recording, honestly, I am. There we are.